that the question papers were leaked on the morning of the 5th. Exam was scheduled at 2 o'clock. Students were made to memorize the questions. That may be one indicator that the leak was not as widespread. Somebody who has a question paper is not going to ask students to sit down and memorize them and give on the spot memorize them. How many answers can a student memorize?
There are two aspects. They were still trying to find out that at what stage and from what source the paper has been leaked.
When were the question papers sent to the locker?
5-6 days prior to the actual
specific date. And second, when were they pulled out of the locker? Two lockers, right? State Bank of India and Canara Bank.
Bank splits.
Now, when were they pulled out of the locker?
On the date of the exam, that is on 5th minutes. Reference.
What time was the examination held?
5th minutes.
What time was it held?
2 in the afternoon. 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock to 5:20. 3 hours 20 minutes.
Yes.
Now, what time were they pulled out of the locker on the 5th?
Around minutes 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Now, at how many centers in India was the exam conducted?
In India, 4,750 minutes.
4,750 centers. How many? Right. How many cities?
500.
Now, please give us specific.
571 and 15 centers were abroad minutes.
571 cities.
Yes, please.
And how many centers abroad?
14 minutes. 14 cities. 14 cities. Centers.
Now tell us how many students appeared totally?
24 lakhs around minutes.
And were they lodged in the State Bank and Canara Bank in each of these cities, or what happened?
Each of the cities minutes, they are lodged with the custodians who are minutes Canara Bank and State Bank.
So we want to know on what date were the question papers sent? Where were they? When were they? When the question papers were prepared?
Yes, minutes.
Right. Question papers are prepared by one person or more than one person?
Group of experts. Question papers are prepared at the headquarters.
Where are the headquarters? Delhi.
In Delhi.
So two sets are prepared by two different groups or one group?
The same group of experts prepares two different sets of question papers.
At the headquarters?
Yes.
After they are prepared, they are given to the NTA?
Yes, please.
When did NTA send them to the State Bank of India and Canara Bank into different cities?
In between, printing is there, please.
Right.
Printing presses.
So when
are they sent to the printing press?
Which is the printing press?
Yes, please. We will get the details.
We want to know which is the printing press.
Yes, please.
When did you send these question papers to the printing press?
Yes, please.
What were the transportation arrangements made for sending them to the printing press?
Yes, please.
When did the printing press, after the printing press prints them? We are now talking of 24 lakhs, 50 lakh sets.
Yes.
Right? Because 24 lakh had, how many sets were printed?
Correct. And
after they were printed, where were they sent? Are they sent back to the headquarters at Delhi?
Yes, please.
Huh?
The remaining sheets, unutilized ones.
No. After the question paper is set, it is sent for printing.
Yes.
You have a printing press A.
Yes.
You need not tell us where the printing press is. Otherwise, next year they will go to that printing press.
Yes,
now, it is sent to that printing press.
Yes.
Right? How is it sent to the printing press? Under what custody?
Yes.
Second, after they are printed, how does the printing press send it back to NTA? Between that date and give us that date, how many days had elapsed between that and the distribution of the question papers to these 471 cities and 4,750 centers?
The entire movement minutes I'll prepare a track. Starting from the preparation of the question paper.
See, I'll tell you why we are asking. If we come to the conclusion that the time lag between the leak and the actual date of the examination is relatively limited, then that would be a circumstance which would militate against holding a retest.
Not sure.
If the time lag between the leak and the actual examination, Brother Mishram actually mentioned,
is
wider, then there's a greater chance that the malaise is across the system.
Correct. I get it, minutes, I'll get the time.
If it appears that the question papers were leaked on the morning of the 5th, exam was scheduled at 2 o'clock, students were made to memorize the questions, that may be one indicator that the leak was not as widespread.
Not sure.
Somebody who has a question paper is not going to ask students to sit down and memorize them and give on the spot memorize them. How many answers can a student memorize?
There are two aspects.
Therefore, we have to have some clarity on facts for us to understand whether this is so systemic that we must order a retest.
Watch.
See, there are two or three considerations which way. One, if the sanctity of the examination has been lost, then a retest has to be ordered, right?
Yeah.
If we are not able to identify students who are candidates who are guilty of wrongdoing, a retest has to be ordered. If you can't distinguish the grain from the chaff, that is the tainted from the untainted, a retest has to be ordered.
Your Lordship, judgment.
On the other hand, right? On the other hand, we are dealing with now a situation of 23 lakh students. It may be far-fetched for us to at least presume, unless they point out material to us, that all 23 lakh students or a substantial number of them are involved in the fraud. For all we know, a large number of students may be just honest students who have appeared for the exam.
Large number are honest. Large number.
Therefore, we have to see if, second, what was the modality? One more very important aspect.
Yes,
What was the modality in which the leak was detected? If the leak took place, if the modality of the leak is through electronic means, social media, then there is a possibility that the leak is extremely wide.
My lord, that is the point. What your lordship said is all correct.
Just 1 second.
They leak past the electronic media.
Matthew, one second.
Answer this, please.
We are flagging these issues. We want you to therefore give us a comprehensive analysis of dates.
Certainly.
Because if the leak is taking place through, say, Telegram, if it is taken through WhatsApp,
That happened.
because if it's through social media or any electronic means of communication, then it spreads like wildfire.
Yes.
On the other hand, we must also balance it out about the time at which the leak takes place. If it's more or less in the morning of the 5th, then the time between when the leak takes place and the students have to go for the examination is very limited.
Lordship, on the time.
This is a hard decision, but there is no choice.
One more thing in which we require some assistance from both sides. Please don't treat it as an adversarial litigation. For the reason that whatever view we ultimately take, this view is impacting the lives of 23 lakh students. Second, we want to understand, is it possible for the court to identify red flags, right? So can we identify, either we do it or we appoint an expert committee to identify the red flags? I'll give you some examples of red flags. 720 out of 720. All right, everybody out of who gets 720 is not a fraudster. There may be still people who are extraordinarily bright, that's 720 out of 720. But we found that for the previous years, the proportion was very low. Now, this year, suddenly it goes up to 67. How many out of those 720 are people from that 1563 who are beneficiaries of the added grace mark?
We have given the details in our counter.
No.
80 places.
No, we just want you to now put it down on a piece of paper for us. Second, we want to understand this. So a change in centers is possible, right? A change in centers is possible. Suppose a student, I was just telling my brothers at lunch, suppose a student is registered at Lucknow. Suddenly you find that student has gone from Lucknow to a distant center therapy and gets the 720.
Yes.
Suppose somebody is registered at Ahmedabad and suddenly goes to a fairly distant. So that may be one example.
Consider, yes.
So we can, we will have to do some, if we have to separate the grain from the chaff, we will have to identify certain red flags. That those who fall in that red flag category, we may have to then hold a limited retest for that category alone. Second, is it possible to do, using the cyber forensic unit of, say, the Ministry of Home Affairs or whatever, is it possible to do a data analytics on the entire result and to identify? Now, there may be one category I was thinking, when we were reflecting on this matter, students who get exceptionally high marks in the NEET, but whose performance is not reflected in the 12th. But there again, I'll tell you one thing. 1 second. There again, there's a problem. Students don't study as hard for the 12th as they study for the NEET.
Only one figure may assist your lordship.
Another red flag.
Your lordship
Another red flag. A student gets exceptionally high marks in one faculty of science, like say physics or chemistry,
Right.
but gets 5 marks in the others. So, because it may be unlikely that a student who is doing so brilliantly in one would not have studied at all for the other faculty. So the only point is that, I'm not sure whether we should be doing this or whether these wouldn't.
But they have not declared the entire result also.
But may I give one?
As Brother Mishra says, does the full marks have a pattern? We also
I wanted to answer that.
we also want to understand. We also want to understand the pattern of NEET itself.
4 marks,
So 45 questions on physics,
45 on chemistry, 45 on maths, on botany, and 45 on zoology.
So 45 times are 4. That is
180 into 4, 720.
Correct.
If you get a wrong answer, -1. So therefore, if you had given 179 right answers, your score would have been 720 minus 5, that is 715. Here, there have been answers, scores of 718, 790. It's mathematically impossible because you lose 4.
Answer was, my lord, that it is because of the grace marks. My lord,
No. This is prior to retest. Give me 2 minutes, Lord. Give me 2 minutes.
Submission something.
Once you will hear.
Just some figures which are handy, and that might answer. I'm obliged, your lordship's question. It's a very pertinent question. We examine the pattern of 100 top-ranking students, those who were in the first 100. Lord, the analysis comes that they were distributed amongst 95 centers in 56 cities in 18 states or union territories.
The
Top 100.
The top 100.
They are, my lord, found that they appeared in 95 centers located in 56 cities, which are spread out in 18 states or union territories.